I can't believe you took me to the hotel while I was wasted and undressed. You're such a jerk. She glared at me and said that as she woke up in the early morning. Wait a minute. It's a misunderstanding. I tried to explain to her, but I got called out the next day. You're gonna take full responsibility for this. Davis, can you set up this stand by the wall? Sure thing. And put that chair in the corner so it doesn't show up in the shot. Got it. I was at a certain photography studio that day. My name's Davis, and I'm a freelance photographer. Right now, I'm shooting lingerie models for a product catalog at $30 an hour. Today was the day scheduled for shooting the new collection of a lingerie brand. With my digital camera that I bought on a 2-year loan in one hand, I'm capturing the models in their beautiful lingerie through my lens. No matter how beautiful the models are, the most important thing is to think about how to make the lingerie they're wearing look appealing while shooting. But honestly, I'm not good with this kind of glamorous atmosphere, even though it's a bit bleak. Alright, let's wrap it up for today. Good work everyone. Davis, want to sort through the photos in the office? Yeah, sounds good. After the models left, I cleaned up the props and equipment in the studio, sorted through the photos in the office, and my workday was over. Hey Davis, you free tomorrow? Yeah, I'm available. One day, I got an invite to go drinking from my high school buddy, Smith. Smith and I meet up about once a month basis to listen to each other's daily gripes over drinks. I made plans with Smith, and the next day, I showed up at our usual pub for the first time in a month. Smith was already there by himself. Hey, you're supposed to wait until I get here. What's the big deal with just one drink? But man, you look like crap. Smith smirked and gulped down the foam from his mug. Well, what do you expect? I'm swamped at work these days. I'm totally exhausted every single day. Must be tough being surrounded by beautiful girls, huh? I'm so jealous. What are you talking about? It's work. You have no idea, but it's really hard having to be considerate of the models and all. Smith always says that unlike him, being an ordinary white collar, I seem cool and artsy. You've got it made, getting a stable paycheck every month. Come on, you're the lucky one. Doing photography work that you love is not all it's cracked up to be. The income's unstable, and it's all just rush jobs. Even when I start my usual griping, Smith listens without making a fuss. You know, doing what you love for work just isn't a good idea. It's way better to keep what you love as a hobby. I downed my mug of beer in one go and griped to Smith. The photography I want to produce isn't commercial photography, like what I'm currently doing, which simply involves delivering what the client wants. I want to create artistic photography where I can express something through a single photo. Back in high school, I loved photography and even sent some of my photos to a design company for evaluation. Your photos capture the subject's natural expressions beautifully. It's wonderful. If you keep honing your skills, you might just become the next Ansel Adams or Tim Walker someday. Really. Oh yeah, if you keep working at it, there's no doubt you'll become a great photographer. Getting praised like that, I decided I would seriously pursue photography as a career. But after studying photography at college, I started relying too much on technique and lost the ability to express the inherent goodness of the subjects. You've got the technical skills for photography down, but something's lacking. Maybe you're better suited for commercial photography than art photography. Commercial photography. Ever since my college days, that's how my photography started being evaluated. So even though I wasn't thrilled about it, I had no choice but to make commercial photography my main gig. Lately, I've been griping more and more every time we meet, and Smith sighs and mutters. Back in high school, you were super gung-ho when it came to photography, but now you've totally gone on the defensive. Well, of course I've changed. We're 32 already, you know. You gotta compromise at some point. The waiter comes over and sets down our drinks along with 2 shot glasses. And you know, once you realize your own abilities, you start to see your limits, or like, you can see where things are headed. What are you even saying? We're only in our 30s. It's way too early to give up. Lately, all you do is complain. Come on, have a drink. Saying that, Smith pours alcohol into my glass. Usually, Smith just listens to my griping in silence, but once in a while, he reminds me of this. I got a call from Smith telling me that our high school reunion was happening. Apparently, Smith was put in charge of organizing it this time, and he asked me to take photos of the event. I wasn't too keen on the idea, but he said he'd pay me, so I figured I could treat it as a little side gig and reluctantly agreed to attend. The following month, I was standing in front of an old-fashioned pub about a 5-minute walk from the train station. I walked past a sign that said Talbot High School Reunion and entered the designated room inside. There were over a dozen alumni milling about. Nobody in particular called out to me, so I looked around the room for Smith. I spotted him in the corner of the room chatting with some classmates and approached him. "Hey, you're late. We're starting in like 15 minutes, so just find a seat somewhere." "Where are you sitting?" "I'm in the very front on the left." "Got it." Smith's pretty much the only close friend I have, so I secured the seat next to him and started getting my camera ready. About 20 minutes later, the reunion began. All the alumni were happily catching up and reminiscing about the old days. Smith, the organizer, was busily moving around and couldn't really sit down. Since I didn't have any close acquaintances around me, I just silently focused my lens on the alumni. A little while after the reunion started, Smith, the organizer, suggested that everyone share what they were up to these days, and people started talking about their current situations one by one. Some graduated college and are working at big companies. Some women got married and became housewives. Some took over the family business. Everyone seems to be walking their own path. Among them, the person getting the most attention was the other organizer, Emily. She was speaking about her recent activities with her back straight, her manner as confident as ever, and her beautiful appearance unchanged. After graduating from high school, Emily attended an art college, completed her studies there, and secured a job as a fashion designer. Then, she has chosen to become an entrepreneur. Currently, she runs her own lingerie retail company. She's probably the most successful out of all of us. Whoa, she's the CEO. That's amazing. I saw that lingerie ad the other day. So that was Emily's company. Envious gazes and jealous remarks mingled towards Emily, who instantly became the center of attention. Amidst the excitement over Emily's story, Smith called on me. After hearing Emily's success story, I found it hard to speak. I briefly mentioned my current job in a quiet voice and quickly sat back down. But none of the alumni around me were really listening to my story anyway. They were still caught up in talking about Emily. I picked up my camera again, raised my head, and looked around at everyone. My eyes stopped on Emily, who was looking my way. I hurriedly lifted my camera, pretended to take a photo, turned left and right, and looked at everyone through the viewfinder. But Emily was still looking at me. Come to think of it, there was a time when she looked at me like this before, or so I thought. Feeling Emily's gaze on me, I kept taking photos of the excited alumni. About 3 hours later, the reunion ended. In front of the restaurant, everyone was chatting, reluctant to part ways. They split into groups heading home and groups going to the after-party. Smith invited me to the after-party too, but I declined, saying it wasn't part of my contract. Smith didn't push it any further and left to lead the members going to the after-party. Even though I felt a bit guilty towards Smith, I decided to head home. Whew, I knew I couldn't drink much after all. Maybe I'll have another drink near my place. As I was thinking that and passing by the side of the park, I noticed a woman lying on a bench. She's gonna catch a cold sleeping in a place like this. She must be really drunk, huh? When I got closer and took a good look at the woman, it was Emily sleeping there with a bright red face. Hey, that's Emily, right? You okay? Even when I called out to her and shook her body, there was no sign of her waking up at all. She must have been heavily intoxicated. My place is still a ways off, and I don't know where Emily lives. This is tough. As I looked around at a loss, a hotel's neon sign caught my eye. For now, let's go there. I somehow carried Emily on my back and entered the hotel that was right nearby. When we got into the room and I laid Emily on the bed, she started moving around with a pained expression. It's hot. Saying that, Emily suddenly started taking off all her clothes. Hey, wait a sec. Don't strip here. While I was flustered, Emily got down to her underwear and seemed to fall asleep again, face down. Geez, can't be helped. As I took a bathrobe out of the closet and put it on Emily, I noticed the lingerie she was wearing. I put the blanket directly back on Emily and laid her on the bed. I let out a sigh, plopped down on the sofa, and lit a cigarette. Whew. Taking a deep breath while exhaling a long trail of smoke, I turned my gaze to Emily's sleeping face. A peaceful sleeping face, like a child's. Looking at her sleeping face like that, memories from high school floated into my mind. There was a time when I went up to the rooftop thinking I'd take a photo of the view from up high, and Emily was there crying in front of the fence. Back then, Emily was on the disciplinary committee and strictly instructed our classmates to follow the school rules. Because of that, some of our classmates found her annoying, and they'd badmouth her from afar, loud enough for Emily to hear. She got a lot of flack about her body type back then. Emily had a fairly cute face, but she had a larger body build, which some might describe as big-boned or chubby at the time. Unfortunately, our classmates unkindly labeled her as a noisy fat roll girl. She usually put on a brave face, but I guess it got to her after all, because she was crying while trying to muffle her voice. While I was reminiscing about that, I must have fallen asleep at some point. Eek. What the? Where am I? The next morning, I was startled awake by a sudden scream. I turned my groggy eyes towards the bed to see Emily sitting up and glaring at me. Davis, this is a hotel, isn't it? Well, you were passed out drunk in the park yesterday, so I brought you here. Did you undress me? You're a jerk. Emily wrapped a blanket around her body and looked at me with an expression full of anger. Emily, calm down. Believe me, I did nothing. I told Emily to calm down and then slowly explained the whole sequence of events again. However, she listened with a doubtful look. And Emily, you know, that underwear you're wearing right now. What about it? It's our company's product. Do you want to see my underwear that badly? She gripped the blanket wrapped around her body even tighter. No, that's not it. I see more than enough underwear at work, so it's not like that. Then what? Well, a lingerie model I met at the shooting the other day said. I told Emily, who was eyeing me suspiciously, about the model I worked with recently. She said, because of this kind of work I do, people say all sorts of things about me, true or not. But when I wear this brand's lingerie, I feel like I'm really protected somehow. How do I put it? When I'm wearing this, I feel like I can show myself in the most beautiful way possible. So it gives me a lot of confidence. Look, Davis, I can even do this in front of you. Saying that, the model did a full turn in front of me in just her underwear and struck a pose. Emily listened quietly to my story. But it's not just her. It's a trend among models right now, and there are a lot of girls using this lingerie. Is that so? For some reason, Emily cast her eyes downward and fell silent. What's wrong? I wanted to send out lingerie into the world that supports the hearts of those who wear it. I see. So it got through to them. Tears were welling up in Emily's eyes. Are you crying, Emily? Sorry. I'm just kind of happy. Emily, you know too, right, Davis? About how people used to talk about my body figure. Huh? Yeah, I guess they did say stuff. They'd purposely say loudly so that I could hear. Every time, I'd get depressed. I tried whatever I could imagine to lose weight, skipping meals, jogging, and so forth. I lost weight, but my body shape didn't change. I fell silent, not knowing what to say. As I was researching things like clothes that make you look slim, the idea of creating garments that people could wear with confidence, and that's how I got into this field. I see. You may not believe me, but I have no confidence in myself at all. Haha, it's funny, isn't it? Someone like that being a company president. Emily laughed while wiping her eyes with the blanket. I kinda knew, you know. Remember how you were crying on the rooftop in high school? At that time, I thought maybe you were deliberately trying to make yourself look strong. What? But you know, if there are people gaining confidence because of your designs, then shouldn't you have more confidence in yourself? Yeah, maybe so. Exactly. We should get going soon. Okay. After that, once Emily finished getting dressed, we headed to the station together. When we arrived at the station, Emily got into a taxi. Thanks for yesterday. Hey Davis, you know what? What? As Emily started to say something in a small voice, the taxi door slammed shut and it drove off just like that. As I watched the taxi leave, I thought about Emily's passion for her work, and I felt embarrassed about my own attitude towards my job. Starting tomorrow, I'm gonna tackle my work head-on with my own convictions, just like Emily. That's what I resolved to do. Move that over a bit more. The lighting on the left. Angle it down a little more. Models, keep your chins down. Yay, that's good. What's gotten into you, Davis? You seem like a totally different person. You never used to give much direction on your own before. Did something happen? From the next day onward, I made a point to focus not just on the products the models were wearing, but on the subjects as a whole, trying to shoot in a way that made each photo tell a story. As I was taking a break after the morning shoot, Emily's secretary came to see me, and she told me, after today's shoot is done, could you please stop by Emily's company? I agreed to that, finished work a bit early in the evening, and headed to Emily's company. When I arrived at her company, it seemed like they were expecting me, and an employee immediately showed me to the president's office. When I entered the room, Emily, who had been sitting, stood up and motioned for me to sit on the sofa in the center, so I sat down, feeling a bit nervous. Emily took something out of a drawer and sat across from me with it in hand. Thanks for yesterday, and sorry about earlier. I kind of misunderstood. No, thinking about it now, I should have woken you up at the park, even if I had to do it forcefully. This is the lingerie catalog you shot for another company, right? Saying that, she placed the catalog I had photographed on the table. As expected, it's very well shot. From a business perspective, yeah, but you're not satisfied with it. Yeah. In the end, I want to leave behind photos that have some kind of message, even if they're product catalog photos. When I said that, Emily said she had something else she wanted to ask of me. Apparently, she's planning a big fashion show with famous models. She said she wants me to be the exclusive photographer for it. I'm a freelancer, so if you're okay with me, I'd be happy to do it anytime. And one more thing. I want you to take photos of me from time to time, if that's all right. Photos of you, Emily. Emily returned to the CEO's chair, took out a photo from her desk drawer, and showed it to me. It was a photo I had taken of Emily back in high school. That's right. It was the photo I took of Emily on the school rooftop. In it, Emily is looking off into the distance with tears running down her cheeks. At that time, I heard the sound of a camera shutter, and when I turned around, there you were, Davis. You suddenly took a photo, so it startled me. Yeah, my bad for taking it without saying anything. But the way you were gazing at the sky was so picturesque, I just couldn't let that moment slip away. If you did that now, you'd definitely get arrested. Emily puffed out her cheeks, but I could tell she wasn't genuinely angry. You told me back then, stop pushing yourself so hard. When you said that, I thought, wow, Davis really understands me. That's, well, because we were in the same class. I was always watching you, and after that, I started noticing you, Davis. I was always following you with my eyes. So that's why I always felt Emily's gaze on me. This photo is my treasure. Since you've seen the real me twice now, you better take proper responsibility for it. Emily said mischievously. I've seen Emily's tears twice too. The first time, it was Emily's beautiful crying face. The second time, it was Emily tearfully expressing her passion for her work. Both times, it moved my heart. All right, I'll take responsibility. I'm counting on you. In front of a smiling Emily, I smiled back the same way. A few days later, Smith and I were sorting through the reunion photos over drinks at our usual pub. Davis, you haven't been complaining much lately. What's up? You feeling sick or something? Nothing's different. Everything's the same as always. I see. Actually, when the reunion organizers were decided, Emily asked me to make sure to invite you. Huh? Emily said, I want to see Davis. Could you please tell him to attend? Smith, your impersonation of Emily is off. Did something happen between you two? What are you talking about? Nothing happened. Davis, that's chili oil. The soy sauce is over here. You gonna dip your sashimi in chili oil? After being interrogated over and over by a laughing Smith, we ended up going way over the scheduled time for sorting photos. A few years later, I found myself at a certain studio for a magazine interview. Next to me, company president Emily was sitting, looking a bit nervous. The reason we're both here is because the Emily designed lingerie that was popular among models has now spread to women in general and become a trendy topic of conversation. There's a wide variety of designs to suit different women's body types, and the fashionable trend factor has been recognized overseas, with plans to expand sales to South America soon. and a few of the models who appeared in Emily's lingerie catalogs have started to make it big as celebrities and actresses. Apparently, it's rare for lingerie models to become famous, and word has spread in the industry that if I'm the one taking the photos, they'll turn out stunningly beautiful. Lately, I've been getting non-stop requests from talent agencies to shoot photo books. As the exclusive photographer for Emily's company, we were scheduled to do the interview together today. Got some cool comments prepared for today. Madam CEO, I'm just gonna answer normally. Are you sure you can handle the questions properly, Mr. Photographer? I have some unfortunate news today, so I might not be able to. Huh? Did something happen? Haha. I'm just really disappointed that I won't get to photograph you looking all nervous, Emily. I'm not nervous at all. I'm used to interviews like this by now. Is that so? But I think if you grip your handkerchief that tightly, it's gonna get all wrinkled. Mind your own business. Alright, it's time. Are you two ready? And so, in front of the TV cameras, we began to express our respective thoughts about our work.